Saturday morning. Hi, everybody. Of course, this is your hot weather update with the heat building in. Noticeably warmer today. The temperature is well up into the 90s and maybe some 100s in the valley starting tomorrow, Monday, and then still in the 90s on Tuesday. So I want to just focus on the hot temperatures coming. We'll cover wind a little bit and get into the overall flow pattern. I'm meteorologist Rod Hill coming to you from my home up in Vancouver, Washington this morning. So over on the left, this is the same map I actually showed you last time we talked. This is the upper level ridge. Again, this is building in off the Pacific, which is just interesting because often these big ridges come up from the desert southwest. But this one is strong, and it's definitely going to produce compressive heating and push increasing temperatures into Oregon from west to east Sunday into Monday, and still hot weather Tuesday. Now, the Weather Service is all in. In fact, they are now going extreme heat warning for these kind of pink magenta colors from Forest Grove, Eugene, up through Portland, up through Clark County. And then they have a heat advisory for Cowlitz County, parts of the Coast Range, no advisories for temperature at the beach, although 80s are certainly, I think, likely, especially tomorrow on Sunday. And then you've got an extreme heat watch where the hottest weather will certainly be Monday, it looks like, and still pretty toasty on Tuesday out across areas of central and eastern Oregon. Now, to me personally, again, it's not my call, it's not my agency, it's not my candy store, but um, I would reserve the wording extreme heat myself in the Willamette Valley with our climate and what it is for temperatures with high confidence reaching 100 degrees or better. This one, as I mentioned, we could get some 100s. Most of the modeling says widespread upper 90s. I mean, I'm kind of being picky, but the question is it heat advisory or is it an extreme heat warning? Um, so we'll see. It's going to be hot no matter how you slice it. Okay, let's see here. A couple things to get into. Number one, let's cover my sponsorship real quick. The Momentous Wealth podcast. They just posted some new podcasts. I got the email yesterday, so check it out if you enjoy listening to these. You can listen on Apple Podcasts, listen on Spotify. They're investment topics meant to educate you about the market, and then they get into like retirement planning topics, that type of thing. Momentous Wealth Podcast. Listen on Apple Podcasts. Listen on Spotify. Okay. Let's get into what the Weather Service is saying. We covered the map. And again, extreme heat warning. They actually have some level of heat warnings that will extend all the way through Tuesday. Portland might be dropped to a heat advisory on Tuesday because the hottest weather is Sunday and Monday. Stay hydrated, take frequent breaks from the heat. Don't leave people or animals in vehicles. People still do that. Check on those vulnerable to heat. If you got some friends that they don't have AC, Sunday night, Monday, maybe invite them over for dinner or something like that. Or just, hey, you want to come over and hang out a little bit. Of course, water, cool water for your pets, absolutely important. Wear a life jacket when swimming in local waterways. You know the river is going to be packed the next couple of days. And that brings me to a reminder. They put this out several days ago. This is still in play through the day Monday. Attention boaters, expect low water conditions at times on the Columbia and Willamette rivers, especially during low tide. Now, again, this is a bit deceiving because they don't measure the water level from the river bottom. They have a mean spot of measurement. But this definitely tells you if you're a pleasure boater on the Columbia and the Willamette today, tomorrow, or Monday, especially at low tide, you could be running into shallow water in areas where you're not really looking for that. So extra caution for boaters. All right. Here's my 7-day forecast, courtesy of Hazeldale Tire Pros. We're going to get into the regional stuff I always get into, but the temperatures are the headline. So I just finished 86 today. Still pretty nice out. It's a typical August afternoon with warm weather. But tomorrow, wow, what a turn up in the heat department. 98. There's still some question as to whether Sunday or Monday by a degree or two, which one will be warmer. I've got them both the same at 98. Tuesday, high confidence at this point that we will still be in the 90s, but not as hot, 94. Again, maybe we'll drop from an extreme heat warning to a heat advisory in Portland. We'll see. And then Wednesday, we get a wave of cooler weather. One point it looked like that was coming in on Tuesday. Now it's coming in on Wednesday. We could still get up to, I updated this to 82 degrees on Wednesday. And then we got a morning marine push, it looks to me like in the northwest flow pattern with cool troughing aloft on Thursday. Clouds to sun will drop us all the way down into the mid 70s and then still really pleasant on Friday. And again, I'll come back to that. Here's the national blended model from the Weather Service. And again, for years, forecasters that do their own work and are committed to their work look at the pretty much every day, the European, the American GFS model. Depending on the situation, they'll look at the Canadian, they'll look at the old North American model. Well, this model takes all of that and interpolates it for the output. And this is without doubt, it's not the only source, but it's the source most heavily leaned on for the apps you get to give you temperatures on your phone. It's the source most heavily leaned on by TV meteorologists when they put out their 7-day graphics and the National Weather Service themselves. Okay, so here we go. This afternoon, I've got 86 in Portland. This shows 86, 87, 88, 90 down toward Eugene, 97 in Medford, low 90s out in the Columbia Basin, and some 70s along the coast where it's going to be just beautiful. It's sunny everywhere again today. So tomorrow is the day that heat ridge starts to push inland and we get into the hot weather. So here's Sunday. Latest modeling. 92 up in Kelso Longview under heat advisory. Portland, 96, 97, 98, somewhere in there. I've got us at 98. 100 degrees South Valley down toward Eugene. 107 Medford, upper 90s Columbia Basin, some 80s along the Oregon coast. Now, let's see what this shows for Monday. So what this does for Monday, it shows, if anything, Monday is going to be the hotter day. It opens up a better chance of 100-degree temperatures in parts of the Willamette Valley. It has 94 up in Kelso Longview, nearing 90 up in Seattle, by the way. Has Portland 97, 98, 99, 100 out in Yamhill County around McMinnville, 100, 101 potentially down in Albany, 101 in Eugene, 108 in Medford, and now we're getting into the triple-digit heat out in the Columbia Basin and backing into the East Gorge near the Dalles as well. Let me back up. No, this would be nearing 100 degrees in the Dalles. Okay. Now, that's here's Tuesday. Tuesday, remember, we lose the edge off of the heat here on the west side. So all of a sudden, we're still in the 90s, but it's mostly mid 90s from Portland down to Eugene. Still 104 down in Medford, upper 80s in Seattle, triple digit heat in the Columbia Basin. Temperatures at the beach, 60s and 70s. Hottest day at the coast to me in terms of an absolute guaranteed day at the beach with sunny skies and 80-degree temperatures. That's tomorrow on Sunday, if that's what you like. Now, Wednesday, we wake up, the cool push of air is in progress. Look how we lower into the low to mid 80s from Portland down through Salem. 98 still hot down in Medford, 70s up in Seattle. No longer 100s in the Columbia Basin, but dropping into the 90s. And then the cool push with marine air bringing a cloudy deck of clouds, not to be repetitive, into Thursday. Notice how temperatures drop into the 70s from Portland down through the Portland metro area. Maybe still 80 in Salem with more sun than Portland will get. We'll see. Back down to 91 in Medford, low 70s up in Seattle, 80s out in the Columbia Basin. And then we're out of it, right? And then here is Saturday, the upcoming weekend, pretty comfortable stuff. 80s in the Columbia Basin, upper 70s to low 80s in the Willamette Valley, low 70s up in Seattle. Okay, so that's the money map. That's absolutely what's going on. Here's the flow pattern. And this hasn't changed since the last time we talked. Here's the big upper ridge, 594 enclosed contour offshore Saturday morning, this morning. And then as I play this into Sunday, you're going to see the ridge. It just strengthens a little bit. See that 600 millibar contour? I was talking with one of my colleagues who I really respect, Chris McGinnis at KGW, and we were talking the other day, or yesterday, in fact, that you go back, I don't know, pick a year, 15 years ago. You just didn't see 600 millibar enclosed contours on pressure maps. This is an eyeball test. So if you want to go, he's lying, he's making stuff up, you could probably go find one somewhere on a pressure map. But I would tell you, generally as a forecaster, you did not see 600 millibar highs develop in the summertime. And now they're popping up every now and then. So really strong high is my point. And this is Sunday. And then the high itself kind of backs out to sea a little bit on Monday. There it is. But we still have the hot weather and compressive heating inland with the ridging still extending into Nevada, California. You can see it here, Oregon and California. This is the cool low right up here. So let's go into Tuesday. Now, by Tuesday, the high definitely is retreating back to the west even more. It's weakened somewhat, not a lot, 597. But see the flow pattern has flattened, and now we're getting some cooling, still in the 90s, but not as hot. And then Wednesday is the day you can see now we got the clear troughing, not strong troughing, but enough to drop our temperatures back into the 80s. And if you look at the surface patterns with this trough overhead Thursday morning, I think we probably start off with low marine clouds, which would open the door for Portland to be low to mid 70s for a high. And then after that, we stay really, this is the last one. We're going into Thursday overnight. We still stay really comfortable into the upcoming weekend. So, last thing I want to talk about is wind. I wish this showed you the wind direction. It doesn't. I know what the wind direction is going to be, so I'll guide you through that. This shows you temperatures. So, this afternoon, this does show that we could have a noticeable breeze, 15, 20 mile per hour winds from the north northwest here in the valley, similar at the beach. We've got west winds, 15 or so out in the Columbia River Gorge. And then we're going to play it into Sunday. So I'll just play it into Sunday afternoon. This does show afternoon breezes. These would be north winds in the valley, up to about 20 miles per hour, north winds along the coast. But you got light. Remember, a north wind is blocked by the topography of the mountains in the gorge, so you don't get much wind. So there's the gorge seeing fairly light winds on Sunday. Okay. And then what about Monday? Let's just play it into the afternoon again. Pretty calm mornings, and then in the afternoon, Monday, calmer winds. This is kind of north wind again, 5 to 15. Not much wind at the beach, 5 to 15 out in the valley. So let's keep going. Here's Tuesday. So Tuesday, the flow pattern in the afternoon slowly starts turning more to the west, and that's why you're getting these spikes of winds in the gorge. And this is a sign, absolutely, that the most extreme heat is over. Although remember, we still expect to be in the 90s on Tuesday here in the valley. But this shows the gorge by late afternoon gusting back to 30 from the west. And now, as we go into Wednesday and we have the all-out cooling pattern taking place, there's the west wind in the gorge gusting to 30 out in the Columbia Basin, kind of 5 to 15 mile per hour stuff in the valley and at the coast. Okay. All right. All right. Let's go around the horn. Medford. These are going to be pretty close, I believe, from the Weather Service auto feed to that model I showed you, the National Melinda model. Medford, 96 today, 106 Sunday, 107 Monday, 104 Tuesday, cooling into the 90s on Wednesday. Okay. All right. Now notice, see this map right here? I'm going to click on Pendleton. I had an artist enhance this map somewhat. And notice how Pendleton is spelled correctly. But then when I hit it, it goes to that auto feed from NOAA and it's not spelled correctly. I had somebody email me on this again. And I get it. I haven't talked about it in a while, but I can't control the auto feed. It's misspelled. I've sent an email to NOAA. I never heard back, and it is what it is. I don't want to not show you the temperatures because of the misspelling. So 88, 95 on Sunday, 100 Monday, 98 Tuesday. Hottest weather is Monday into Tuesday, and then cooling down to 90 on Wednesday. Okay. All right. Let's go up to Seattle. Spelled correctly. That's good. 84 Sunday, 86 Monday, 84 Tuesday, cooling into the 70s on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So, yeah, warm up in Seattle, but they definitely don't get into the extreme heat that we get into here in the valley. Central Oregon jumps to 94 on Sunday, could be 100 on Monday. Again, the hottest weather east of the Cascades is Monday, Tuesday, then cooling down Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Our beautiful capital city down in Salem, there's the 99 Sunday, 100, 101 on Monday. At this point, I think it'll be surprising if we don't at least see a 100-degree temperature spike in the valley at some point. And it could be tomorrow, could be Monday, could be both days. This shows Salem 101 on Monday. And then losing the edge of the heat Tuesday, 94, and low 80s on Wednesday. Okay. All right. Astoria, let's see here. I show 79, and I think this is underplayed. I think Astoria, for example, could be 84, 85 degrees on Sunday. Best bet for sunny, warm weather. Monday is interesting because the flow pattern at the beach goes light to variable, and I wouldn't be surprised if at some point Monday we start to see fog banks develop at the coast, and if so, it would be a lot cooler. But we'll see. Certainly, Sunday is the best chance to absolutely see sunny, warm weather along the central north coast. This shows down North Bend 73, 71, 68 on Tuesday. All right. So that was kind of around the horn. This is my weather site, portlandweather.com, that a lot of this data is pulled off of. This is my 7-day forecast, courtesy of Hazeldale Tire Pros in Vancouver. If you haven't subscribed, please do so. You'll be notified when I post. Helps me out too. I'm Rod Hill. I appreciate that. I'm patting my heart. I appreciate that you take the time to look at my forecast work. I really do. Have a good weekend. Stay cool, as the old saying goes, and we'll talk soon.